And good afternoon and welcome to the session called QuickBooks Payroll. In today's session, what you will get is an overview of how to set up your payroll. So once you set up your business file, this is the next step to setting up your payroll. Just an intro to me. My name is Lauretta Finis and I run a bookkeeping practice called QuickBooks Bookkeeping Solutions. I'm a BAS agent, but primarily I am a trainer for QuickBooks Online. There is some information about myself, and I also have a free Facebook page for business owners only. They can join and can ask free questions. The name of the Facebook group page is called QBO Business Hub, and as I said, it's free to join. Today's agenda, we will look at turning on payroll, because when you set up your file, it defaults to off. So we'll look at turning on payroll. We add in some business settings. We look at setting up of the single touch payroll, which is what you might see around the place called STP. We'll look at adding in your employees. We'll look at some pay categories, leave, allowances, deductions. All those are all in the payroll center, and we need to set those up first before we can pay any of the employees. We will also be looking at the setting up of super, and you can also pay the superannuation through our Beam Super Clearinghouse through QuickBooks Online, and I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll go right through and actually process a pay run and then a single touch pay event, which will deliver the information to the ATO, and then we'll look at some reporting. So when you first set up your QuickBooks Online file, what you will notice when you click into the Employee Center tab on the left-hand side navigation bar, it is not set up for you, as not every business owner has payroll. So let's look at setting up this section here. So all we need to do is click Sign Up for KeyPay, where we need to add in some business settings. So let's have a look at our ABN. Now, don't forget, this is a dummy file, so I am going to put in my ABN number, 1 to 10. GoldenEye Consulting is our business name. The address we have is 007 Bond Street, Melbourne, Vic 3000. Then tell us a little bit about yourself, and the person that actually owns this file is Danny, and the email address is dannystallone@gmail.com, and we've got his phone number there. Let's click Next. Now this is where you need to set up your standard work hours, and our standard work hours are 7.6 hours in the day, but if you need to, you could very well be 8 hours, which runs you into a 40-hour week. We are a 38-hour week, so I'm going to choose 7.6 hours. Now this is very important for you as well, because this is what's actually going to set up your payroll pay run, because the very first time you process a pay run, you need to set up the exact day that the work week starts and the work week ends. So ours runs from the Monday, so that's the first day of our working week, to Sunday. It could very well be Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday to Wednesday. It just depends on your payroll cycle. So let's go Monday to Sunday. How often do we process these pay runs? Now this is where you choose whether or not you're a weekly payroll, or do you have monthly or fortnightly. Now I want you to be very aware of this, is that if I choose weekly, it's actually going to pick up the weekly tax tables. So this is where the tax tables are chosen from. So if I'm going to pay a monthly payroll, which in some cases I do have that because I've got directors that we pay them on a monthly basis, the payroll will actually pick up the tax tables for that whole month. Okay, so just be very wary of that. And I'm just going to say it's weekly for us. And what is our industry? Well, we're a consulting firm, so let's just choose anything close to a consulting firm. I think I'll just go financial and insurance services, and then we're going to sign up. And let's go to dashboard. So once we get into the payroll center, this is what it will look like. And it actually lets you know once we have some pay runs in the Pay Centre, what you will find is that it will start calculating your net pay, PAYG, superannuation, and any other deductions. It will give us a total pay cost as we go along throughout the year. It's also letting us know that we need to set up at least one employee, so we could very well set up our one employee under this little hyperlink here. It's also letting me know that I have a simple start, so I have 4 employees per month. If you need to find out some more resources, if you want to find out a lot more information about how to get started, you can just click on the check out these great resources. Otherwise, we have a great help button, top right corner. Once I get in there, I would say set up payroll. Got single touch payroll. Further answers and questions, superannuation help, create and lodge a pay event. So you can see there's a lot of information there already for you. And that was just by clicking on the help button, top right corner. Now, what we have in this particular window, which is what I call the Payroll Centre, we have 5 tabs. And you will find that this is going to start to populate soon once I add in an employee. Then we'll be able to find our pay runs under this section. Do our employees have approved leave? That's where we'll find the approved leave. And reports. You can see there are a lot of reports that we can run after we actually process a payroll. And then we've got our payroll settings. And I'm going to go into the payroll settings in a moment, but the next step that I want to go through is enabling single touch payroll. And this is awesome that we now have our wizard that we can just run. So please do remember that this is your next step to enable single touch payroll. I just click into the enable single touch payroll and it will take me through a wizard where I just answer some questions. Please read the information, that way you're aware of what single touch payroll is, and just to let you know that it is an actual ATO obligation that we need to report now from the 1st of July 2019, and that is for all employers with employees. Let's click on proceed, and this is where I can start completing the information about my business. So let's click next. Okay, now who will be lodging the STP events for this business? Well, this is going to be you. Okay, so this is you will be the employer. If you have a registered tax BAS agent, they will know what to do, as well as if you have an intermediary for multiple employing entities. But for today's session, we'll look at the employer, which is you. Okay, so let's click next. And the next step that you would need to do is you have 2 options. One, you can log in if you actually have an ATO Access Manager, which some of you might have. If you're processing your BAS through AusKey, you might have that. Otherwise, the most popular option is calling the ATO. And what he will ask you, of course, is who is the software provider, and you'll say KeyPay, which is QuickBooks Online, and then he'll ask you the software ID, which is for this particular software, as each individual software, so each individual QuickBooks Online file has a different software ID number. And also, just as a heads up, they will ask you a few questions just to identify you. So please make sure that you've got some ATO papers lying around. Then you just select the tick box there that you acknowledge that WebScale, through the use of KeyPay, is not providing an agent service and that you are responsible for your STP lodgements. And let's click complete. So we're done. So it wasn't that hard, guys, was it? Okay, so now that we've enabled the single touch payroll, we can now commence reporting to the ATO. I'm just going to click on go to dashboard, which takes us back to our payroll center. Now, before I add an employee, I'm just going to go into my payroll settings first. And under business settings, there's a few things that you need to be aware of. And one of the things I just want to check is the ATO settings has been correctly processed. Yep. Okay, that looks pretty cool. And then under electronic lodgement and STP, it's been enabled. And that's what I'm actually looking for, just to make sure that we have enabled the software when we ran the payroll wizard. So I'm happy with that. So let's just click out of that. Now, the next thing I do want to look at is the chart of accounts. This is so that you're aware of where you will find information if you need to change it. So under our chart of accounts, we do have default accounts, and as you can see, the payment account for your payroll will be coming out of your payroll clearing account. You can change that if you need to, as well as any other default accounts that you see there. So if you do want to have an individualized default of any of your accounts for QuickBooks Payroll, this is where you change that, as well as the pay categories. If you want to associate a different expense account to pay categories, deduction categories, this is where you could go in, but please be mindful of the fact that all these should be okay for you, because when you set up that payroll, we have default accounts already set up. So most of the time it will be fine. The other thing that I want to show you is if you click into Payslips, this is where you'll be able to add in your logo. So please take a little bit of time before you run your first pay run, because then your Payslips will have your logo on there. Make sure everything is all set up correctly before we do our first pay run. The other thing that I want to give special note to is the payment files, where this is where we can set up ABA files, and this is where you can bulk pay your employees via internet banking. And I would say if you have probably more than 5, this is a great time saver for you, because once we process the payroll, there'll be an ABA electronic file for us waiting, and we can just upload that into our internet banking, and we can pay the employees all in one go from our internet banking site. Back to payroll settings. Now the other one that I want to show you is the pay schedules. Pay schedules, we have a weekly pay schedule set up. Now when I set up the wizard for payroll, we had said that we process our pays weekly. But if I do have a director's payroll, say monthly, very easy to do. I'll click on add. I'm going to call this director's monthly payroll. And please note, again, this is where the tax tables will be chosen from, and because it's a monthly pay run, I want to choose the frequency of our tax tables to be monthly. Then you've got some nice little things here that if you want to run the automation pay run, you can. So what it will do is it will process the payroll automatically for you, and you don't have to actually go in and do a manual pay run. Then I'm just going to click add to that, and we now have 2 pay schedules, and click save, and there we go, we've got the 2 pay schedules as well. As this is an introduction to payroll, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but just to briefly mention to you that you can set up different locations, which could be a physical address or it could be a different department. So please do look into that if you need to. The pay categories are very important as well, because again, this is awesome that we already have a lot of the pay categories already set up for us. As you can see, we've got permanent ordinary hours, we've got a salary, we've got leave loading, and there's casual ordinary and a bonus. If you do need to set up a pay category, it's fairly simple. Just click on add. Let's just say we'll call this travel allowance. So it just depends on your business and what you need to pay your employees. I'm going to click save, and then this is where you can choose by unit. So if you want to pay it hourly, annually, fixed or daily, I'm going to say fixed, and I'm not going to exempt PAYG or leave in this particular travel allowance, only because it's a non-deductible, and I'm going to click save. And then with the deduction, so let's go back to our payroll settings and then pay categories. You can see we've got leave categories that we can set up. As you can see, we already have annual leave, compassionate leave, leave without pay, personal carers leave, and time in lieu. So there's lots of things that you can do to set yourself up. And then if you've got deduction categories, which could very well be salary sacrifice or any other deduction that you may need to set up for your employees, this is where you would actually click into the add, and then you can add the deduction that is needed for your employee. If I also click into superannuation, this is what you need to realize as well, as with QuickBooks Online, you can actually add in your default super fund. So if we had CBUS as our default super fund, I just click in CBUS, it's going to search for CBUS, and there it is there. Now more than likely it will be that one, so I've selected that. And I'm going to click save. So I now have as my business CBUS as my preferred superannuation fund. Okay. The next thing that you need to do so that you process superannuation through your QuickBooks Online file is register with Beam, and Beam is our super clearinghouse. As you can see, it's really easy. All you need to do is click next, and it will take you through a wizard type format, and all you need to do is enter in the correct details. You have an option of direct debit, so you can set up a direct debit. That way when you decide to pay your payroll, superannuation, you can just batch the superannuation through this area, because once it's set up, all you need to go is go into your report setting, under payroll, super payments, and it will all be here waiting for you to process as a batch. And here it actually explains it all for you nicely, so that you can set up Beam. Again, if you're having issues with setting up Beam, please go to support, which again I'm going to show you. It's under the help section there. Otherwise, if you are having issues, there's a contact us button there. Okay, and then you've got a live chat, so you can post a question. You've got a live chat as well as you can talk to a specialist. That was an overview of the payroll setup, but you can see there is a lot more that you can go into in great detail. And again, I do strongly suggest looking at your help area in the top right corner if you get stuck. Okay, so let's go back to our employees, and we need to start running a pay run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some employees, and yes, I could set one up from there. I could click add employee button from there, but guess what, this is my go-to area here where I can click my add employee one by one, or I could import in some employees. So do take note that if you are coming across from a different software and you have them saved in a CSV file, if you've got all the information in relation to your employees, your tax file number, the address, all that information that you require for your employees, you could import in your employees from this button here. So again, go to your help button and it will suggest to you how you can do that, but I'm just going to do it one by one. So let's have a look at our first payroll person. It's going to be Buddy Brosnan. I'm just going to choose 123 Wetherill Road, Cheltenham. The email address is very important that you get this right, because this is how your employee is going to receive his pay slips, and that's very important that you get that right as well. So we're just going to put in, hopefully that's right, an email notification. Yes, I want you to take note that if you do SMS, it is a slight fee. I think it's 25 cents, I can't remember now, but please do note manual and none mean the same thing. Manual would be if you are going to print off the payslip and you hand the payslip to your employee. I'm just going to choose email. Now, self-service, this is the portal that all our employees do have that we can turn on for the employee. I'm going to say yes, because then they can actually manage their own pay slips, they can manage their leave, apply for leave, and check their payslips without having to ask you for payslips over and over again. So I'm going to say yes. Let's click next. And as you can see, we're just following the left hand side navigation bar. The start date, let's just say he started the let's go back to the 1st of September. No, our pay run went from Monday, remember? So you need to make sure you get that right, because otherwise it might go a little bit askew with the actual dates and the pay week. Now I'm going to choose full-time, but you can see you've got a couple of employment types that you can choose from. So let's choose full-time. Primary location, again, as I mentioned about the locations, you could set up different locations, which could be different physical addresses if you've got different addresses within the business, or you might have, like you might have ones in different states, or you could have different departments as well. I don't in this particular file, so let's just click Golden Eye Consulting. The pay schedule, you can see they both come up now, because you need to attach each employee to the correct pay schedule. Okay, so in this particular case, I am going to choose Director's Monthly Payroll. Now, this is the pay rate, so you have a choice of per hour, per annum, or per day. So for this particular director, we're going to choose per annum, and we're going to say that he's on, let's say, $65,000 per annum, and he is a 38-hour week. As soon as I hit tab, yep, that's it. I then go into my primary pay category and choose permanent ordinary hours. And as I choose permanent ordinary hours, it actually works out for me the hourly rate. So I don't have to scratch my head and work out what on earth is $65,000 divided by 52 weeks in the year and then divided by 38. Now I'm just going to choose the casual ordinary hours, because as you can see, that's actually changed that around a little bit. So let's just take that back to where we were at permanent ordinary hours. I'm going to leave that at no leave allowance, but you could actually choose permanent leave with loading, no loading, casual leave. He's a permanent person, so I'm not going to choose a leave allowance there, because it will just default to the permanent leave, no loading. And you do have the choice of using timesheets. Now, we don't go into timesheets today, but please do use the help button and look into timesheets, because it's really easy for your staff members to go in, add in their timesheets, and then the timesheet, the actual times, the hours will populate for you in QuickBooks Online. I'm going to click Do Not Use Timesheets, and let's click Next. I just need to let you know that you've got a choice of electronic. Now, electronic is the ABA file that I mentioned to you before. If you want to upload that automatically with bulk employees to your internet banking. Manual deposit if you go to the bank, or cash or check, or BPay. I'm just going to say manual deposit because we're going to not going to electronically move it. We're going to pay them via my internet banking to his internet banking, and that's the one that I choose. Okay, and I'm just going to choose a BSB account number. Again, it's not the right one. It's a real one, I should say. Now we're going to choose a super fund, and we could choose employer nominated fund if he's with CBUS. Okay, we could choose that, but let's just say in his super choice form he said he was with REST. So we click search. So let's select REST Super. And all now that you need to do is click in his member number, and we'll just say 12369. And let's click Next. And the last thing that we need to do is set up his tax file number. Now, normally when you start an employee, they will give you their tax file number declaration form. If you don't have it and you need to pay them, you could select any one of these. The employee didn't quote a tax file number, or the employee has applied for a tax file number but doesn't have it yet. So just be very wary what you choose here, because it will affect the tax bracket and the tax amount that he is paying. Okay, so I'm just going to say his tax file number is 111111111. Close that. If he's got a previous surname, or he's changed his name by deed poll, or maybe someone's got married and they've changed their surname, you could add that in. Then the date signed, we'll just say he started on the 1st September, so we'll say he signed down on the 28th of August. Now you do have the option to lodge this directly with the ATO, and because at this stage we've gone through the setup process of single touch payroll and our file is connected to the ATO, we could very well do that. Okay, and that way it saves you having to mail off to the ATO, I think it's Sydney or somewhere like that, the actual paper form. So you can lodge the tax file number declaration directly to the ATO, which is awesome. I'm not going to do that, of course, because we don't have a real person, and I'm going to click done. And guess what, everyone? That is our first employee. Let's go home, and there he is there, as you can see. Now I just want to add in another one really quickly, guys. You can see it doesn't take you that long, hey, to actually set up your employees. As long as you've got all the information sitting in front of you, it won't take that long. So what it's now doing is it's given me some information about the employees. You can see I didn't give either Buddy or Denoso the job titles. So it's manager, supervisor, apprentice. You could add that in as well. So under employee you'll find all their names, the job title, employment type. So they're both full-time. Now this is where it will let you know the pay schedule, okay? And then also too, you can see that they haven't been paid yet. Alright, now as you know, we've got no pay runs yet. We haven't got any approved leave. The reports, I'm not going to show anything as yet. And then the payroll settings, we did all that at the start. Okay, so we are ready to run our first pay run. So let's click new pay run. So the pay period ending, we said, was the 29th, and see now the pay period starting is the 30th of the 8th, so hopefully we've done that correct with the start date of the employees. Date pay run were paid, we said the 30th of Monday. Create. I could add them in from here, so let's do that. Yep, Denoso Stallone. Add that employee, so you can see I'm actually adding them in now individually, but there we go, close, and we'll go in and check those dates later. And let's go, so far so good, guys. Okay, so you can see that if I open up that window, so let me just close that down again. So if I need to, I can change Buddy's hours around, as you can see, and his hourly rate. It is also accruing the leave, as you can see. Also, under the Actions button, this is where we can add earnings. So let's just say he's got a bonus. We'll add in the earnings, and I can actually choose a bonus. All I need to do is I can add in some notes if I want to, and I'm just going to say it's a $200 bonus. So, and save. And then under Actions, you can see we can do a lot of different things. We can calculate the gross payment, add lump sum payment. That's really good if you're paying someone over 4 weeks, so you can actually put in the dates and it'll work it out for you. You can add in an extra expense, you can do a deduction. This is where they accrue leave, by the way, or take leave. So let's have a look at the leave. So let's just say, and at the moment he doesn't have anything at all because it's his first pay run, but if he was to have leave, this is where we would choose it. I'm not going to process it in this particular case. I'm going to process it in the next one, because I just want to show you that if we chose annual leave, oh okay, so it's actually coming up with 12.67 because it's actually included this month's pay run accrual. Okay, but I'm not going to use up his leave taken in this pay run. I want to do it in the next pay run. I'm just going to delete that row, and we can adjust leave, PAYG, super. We can recalculate it if we want to, and as you can see, we can terminate and exclude this particular employee. Now under pay run actions, you can see you can do a lot more. You can add messages, add employees. If I wanted to add in another employee, that's already now Payroll Center, of course. I can adjust the pay period. I can import in timesheets. So you can see there's a lot of information that we can gather from here. If you want to see the pay slips, you can just click on draft pay slips and you'll see the pay slips. Now the warnings. Please note, I would just quickly click on the warnings just to make sure that there's not something really incorrect with this pay run and you've got to make an adjustment. All it's telling me is that the ABA details have not been provided for this business. Well, we know that. And it's telling me that the 2 employees have reached their leave capacity. And that's because this is their first pay run and it's actually added in the family and domestic violence leave, which is now compliance from this year. So I'm just going to X out of those because I don't want to see it for all future pay runs, and the same with this one. X out of that so it doesn't come up again. And guess what, guys? We are now ready. If I go back under actions, I can finalize the pay run, and this is where we have the choice that we can lodge our pay run now by selecting this button, or we can manually lodge it to the ATO later on. If you're not quite sure or you need to check something, I would suggest you do that and then go back in later and lodge the pay run. But I'm going to say lodge the pay run now, and I am also going to select make payslips available to employees now, because I want the employees to receive their payslips because that's also compliant. Or let's just say I'm processing this on a Wednesday and I don't want them to get it by next Monday. I can actually choose when I publish the payslip, and publish the payslip means that my employees are going to receive it. That's all that means. So it's going to publish the payslip. So let's select make payslips available to employees now, and let's click finalize. And as you can see, it's doing its thing behind the scenes, and it is now taken us to the pay event. And this is what your pay event looks like, everyone. And a pay event normally is the year to date gross, superannuation, and PAYG figures. All right. It's got a warning there. Yep, we know all about that. So I probably won't be able to go any further because, as you know, our ABN isn't quite right. So this is what your lodgement looks like. Now, if I just select this little button here where it says show figures from this pay run, normally the 2 figures are different because one is the year-to-date figure, and this one in the blue will be this week's or this pay run's figure as well. Okay, you've got a couple of little actions over here. From the Actions tab, I can send it out to Excel. I can bring in the year-to-date figures. I can mark all is as final if I'm doing the last pay run for the 30th of June, by the way. So 30th of June, that's where you mark as final. Or let's just say Denoso Stallone's leaving next week and this is his last pay run. I could say that this is his final pay run for this financial year. As you can see, it comes up and it lets you know only mark the employee as complete once you are satisfied that the employee will receive no further payment from you, from your business this financial year. So if someone leaves you, you terminate them, you select that is final button, or if it's the last pay run for the year, you also select the is final button as well. So all you now need to do is lodge with ATO. And you can see mine won't go any further because we don't have the correct ABN number. But all you need to do is click on Lodge with ATO. It will then take you into another window where it will show you the actual status of your lodgement, and it will say successful. So once that happens, all you need to do is click Go Back to Pay Run, which will take us back to the actual pay run. I'm going to click on New Pay Run. We're just going to select Create. And again, I can add one or I can add both. Buddy Brosnan, add employee. Okay, now I'm going to pick up Denoso. Oops, Denoso, add employee. Awesome, and now they're both sitting there. Now I don't need to change a thing with this pay run, so all I do is click finalize pay run. So you can see how quick that was. Lodge pay run now, make payslips available. Yes, that's fine. I'm going to pay them the 31st of October. Click finalize. And here's my pay event, because I wanted to show you, once I click on this show figures from this pay run, you can see that this is the pay run for this payroll event, and this is the year-to-date figures. Yeah, so that's what you need to see for the ATO. Let's click lodge with ATO, and again something similar is going to happen because we know that that's not quite right. I'm going to click go to pay run. Now once I work out what my, so let's close that down. So we've actually done some pay runs now. So you can see that a couple of things have changed. Under employee, the last paid was the 31st of October. Now if we click into pay runs, you can see we've got the two different pay runs. If I click into that pay period, you'll be able to see that it gives me the information that Buddy and Denoso were paid with their gross, their tax and their super. Let's click out of there. Now the other thing I want to show you is under reports. If I run a detailed activity report, it's now going to give us information. If I say this quarter to date, click on run report, it's going to give me the, and click in the business name, it's going to give me the information of and that's from the 1st of October, don't forget, so it hasn't picked up the September, and that's what I want you to be aware of depending on the report that you run, because remember the September one, we said we paid it on the 30th of September. That's why they're both not coming up. So if I change that to say custom range, and I'm just going to go back to the 1st of September to the 4th of November, which is today, apply. Now just note those two figures, 5416 and 4583, run that report, and you can now see that they've changed. So please be aware of your dates, especially when you're running your reports, and you need to ensure that you are picking up the correct payroll for your staff. Now in your super contributions, you'll be able to check the super contributions again. I'm just going to say last quarter, and it's picked it up correctly this time for me. GoldenEye, Buddy, and it's actually broken up the superannuation for Buddy and Denoso, as you can see there. Now if we had the beam set up, which we weren't able to because we don't have the correct ABN number. If I click under payroll settings, sorry, if I click under reports and then super payments, I would be able to send the superannuation details and information, the amount and payment from QuickBooks Online direct to the Beam Super Clearinghouse, which then will disperse all the superannuation payments to the different individuals or the different employees. So you can see that's going to save you a great deal of time, and it saves my clients a lot of time as well. Under reports, the other one I want to show you is the leave history as well. If I click on this financial year, run report, let's click under Buddy Brosnan annual leave. You can see it's starting to accrue the leave, and if we were to actually process under the actions button, take leave, it would come up on the right hand side and it will deduct the annual leave that he's taken. So you can see this is really good as well, and you can see you've got your personal carers leave. So if you do need to go in to check out what your staff have accrued, that's a really great report. I run that one all the time as well. Under the employee portal settings, this is what you'll be able to allow your employees to see, where employees can edit their personal details, they can edit their own bank account, they can edit their own super fund, they can apply for leave. So default, employees can apply for leave, and they can complete an employee satisfaction survey, and they can set their own availability. So remember when we set up the two employees, we actually set up their portal settings. This is allowing those employees with these actions, yeah, as you can see. Now this is where we could set up the tool as Denoto Stallone. Your employees will be able to see all their payslips. They'll be able to see their annual leave, time in lieu, and whatever other leave they may have. They can see the next the month coming up, and I can click on view all payslips, and you can see that we can quickly click into the payslips and download them. There's payment summaries as well. So if we just click under the profile, you can see that's where they can change their bank accounts, super funds, documents. Again, they can see their payslips, and then leave if they want to apply for leave as well. So you can see by setting this up, your employees will be able to manage their own leave. They can check their own payslips when they want to, and this way it saves you time having to chase them up all the time for leave requests and so forth. So let's just go back to our payroll. So you can see, everyone, how easy and simple it is to set up your payroll using QuickBooks Online, which is powered by KeyPay. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy QuickBooks Online, and hopefully I'll see you at another webinar soon. Thank you.